Phase 2 clinical trials of 2 coronavirus vaccines developed in India are almost complete. And according to health authorities, the results are promising. At the same time, India continues to record increases in new COVID-19 cases. More than 69,000 new infections have been reported, pushing the national tally past 2.8 million. Neha Punya joins us live from New Delhi right now. Neha, so with cases on the upward trend for weeks now, do you think the government will consider giving emergency authorization to some vaccines under contention?
Seems very likely, Glenda. For the last 2 weeks, we've seen India add more than 50,000 cases on a daily basis. For a few days this week, we saw that number actually fall below the 60,000 mark, which led many officials to say perhaps the curve here in India is flattening. But clearly, Thursday's surge of nearly 70,000 cases tells us that the worst is far from over for India. Currently, there are about 2 indigenous vaccines that are undergoing phase 2 of the clinical trials. They're almost completing that particular phase. And the final phase, the government says, will take anywhere between 6 to 9 months. But the head of the Indian Council for Medical Research, which is the top government body here in the country that's overseeing these clinical trials, says if the government feels the need, emergency authorization may be considered and given. The bigger question is, Glenda, what does this really mean? Are we talking about what Russia did with registering the vaccine even before the final phase is done, or is the government talking about inoculating the entire population? It's likely it will be the former, but the government has also been preparing for the latter, with several high-level meetings having been held over the last several weeks, talking about the protocol for giving this vaccine to the people of the country once it is ready.
Yeah, speaking of the people, Neha, there are signs that more people in New Delhi are now immune to the virus. Help us understand what's going on there.
That's right. We've seen 2 serological surveys being conducted here in the national capital. One was conducted last month, which found that 23% of Delhi's population likely had COVID-19 at some point of time, and they've developed antibodies against the virus. The second survey, the results have just come out, has found that 29% of Delhi's population likely has antibodies for COVID-19. Now, the sample size for this particular survey was 15,000, and experts are saying this clearly tells you that even though cases have been falling here in Delhi, the scale of the outbreak in the national capital is a lot larger than government data is telling us. But more importantly, we're seeing similar surveys across the country. A private firm has studied samples of 270,000 antibody tests done across 600 Indian cities. That's found that 1 in 4 Indians likely has already had COVID-19. Experts say this is pointing towards the fact that if this trend continues, by December, 40% of India's population could have immunity against COVID-19, and there is possibility that herd immunity can develop quicker in a densely populated country like India. But the government has repeatedly dismissed this, saying that's not the way. The vaccine and administering that is the only way ahead, because herd immunity in a country like India could possibly mean many more deaths, and that's too steep a cost.
Yeah, thank you for getting us up to speed with it. Neha Punya speaking to us from New Delhi.